Alright, table 4.1 and 4.2, minimum knowledge requirement topics. Draft demonstration project for locomotive engineering training phase 1, U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Air Administration Office of Research Development, Washington, D.C. 20590. We'll increase the size here. Alright, table 4.1, minimum knowledge requirement topics, railroad organization function performed by various departments. Safety, signal, communication, mechanical, engineering, maintenance, way, car department, bridge building, police and fire, transportation duties and authority of key operational personnel. Division, engineering, master, mechanic, train master, road foreman, engineer, pilot, foreman, brakeman, front and rear, conductor, train dispatcher, tower operator, train order operator, car inspector, crew dispatcher, yard master, agent. Equipment in the facilities, locomotive type, a horsepower, tonnage rating, diesel, electric power generating equipment, function, location, interrelationship, general requirements of safe operation, major components, engine, generator, traction, motors, function, location of the operation control display of the power, electrical control system, selector level, reverser lever, throttle lever, current meter, speedometer, wheel slip indicator for each type of locomotive to be operated. Function, location, auxiliary control display with the indicator switch of the circuit breakers, fuses on engine control, circuit breaker panels for each of the type of locomotive to be operated. Concept operation, multiple unit operations, cause for the effects for the engine overspeed, generator for the traction motor overload, braking equipment, air brakes, function, location, interrelationship, general requirements, safe operation, major components, compressor main, equalizing reservoir, brake valves, brake cylinder, rigging shoes. Function, location, operation, control display from the air brakes, automatic brake lever, independent brake lever, main, equalizing reservoir, pressure gauges, brake pipe, cylinder gauge, brake pipe flow indicator for each of the locomotives to be operated. Concept of operation requirements for the charging, maintaining air pressure, cause of the overcharged, undercharged batteries, procedure for correction. Effects of train length with the ambient temperatures on the brake application relief, the time and the brake pipe gradient, cause for the prevention penalty brake application, cause and prevention unintentional brake release, conditions for which the independent brake are recommended, not recommended, conditions for which automatic brakes are recommended but not recommended, dynamic brake, function, location, interrelationship with the requirements of safe operation, major components, generators, traction motors, cooling grids, function, location, operation control display, control of the current meter for each of the type of locomotive to be operated, concept of operation, conditions under which the dynamic brake is available, the use of condition under which the dynamic brake is not recommended, advantage, disadvantage of the dynamic brake in conjunction with the air brakes, interlocking with the air brakes, limitation, use of the dynamic brake, maximum permitted application time, certain voltage, use over extended distances, handbrakes, location, operation, various type of the handbrakes, and serve the situation requiring operation, handbrakes, blocking of the wheels, sanding equipment, function, location, requirements of safe operation, major components, manual, automatic sanding, concept of operation, situation requiring automatic manual sanding, benefits of the precautions, sanding, safety and communications equipment, function, location, operation, each of all of the such equipment, and include with the safety control pedal, emergency brake valve, automatic train stop, automatic train control, overspeed control, train radio, auditory bell, whistle bells, horns, flares, fuses, torpedoes, situation requiring using safety and communication equipment, cars, type of cars, function, location requirements for safe operation, coupler, draft, gears, air cup, brake components, reservoirs, brake valves, brake pipe connectors, brake cylinder, braking shoes, retainer caboose, valve, and handbrakes, concept of the operation, performance characteristics of the load versus unloaded cars, two requirements of handling, special cares of the hazard material, performance characteristics of friction and roller bearings, potential thermal cracking of the wheels due to excessive braking, trackage, and associated equipment, common types of trackage, main siding, single, multiple function trackage, associated equipment, tower switches, derails, component parts, detector transmitters for information, overheated journals, train speed, terminal yard, engine houses, turntable, the function requirements for the safe operation within the area of the facility, signals, aspect, indication, typical location, various types of the wayside signals and cab signals, meaning a hand flag and lamp signals, type of the meanings of the horn and whistle signals, train control system, general design, operational feature for the train control, insert for the train order, manual, automatic brake system, automatic cab signal, centralized traffic control systems, and verbal train control territory where either each system is in operation if more than one is employed. Physical characteristic of the road, locomotive significant terrain features such as ascending, descending grade curves, undulating territory, bridges, tunnels, potential hazard, the slide of washout, vandalism, location various railroad equipment, landmarks such as station yards, interlocking side crossover, the track crossing, high grade crossing, and emergency telephones. Rules and regulation, operation rules and instruction covering topics such as general rules, single their use, and their use, movement of the train, engineering, engine superiority to train, movement of the train order, movement of manual automatic block signals, movement of automatic cab signals, movement of central trafficking control and traffic control systems, movement of verbal train control, equipment operation, air brakes, dynamic brake, telephone, etc., train handling and safety, timetable, special instruction, 3, work rules and hours for the regulation, 4, power brake law, 5, special bulletin notices, 6, radio operation rules, 7, the federal regulation governing locomotive inspection, safety appliance, and the handling of hazardous material. The operational procedure for the trip preparation required for the trip information, train orders, timetable, rules, special notes, official railroad time, load consists of the information, location, heavy, empties, high, wide loads, hazardous cargo, train length, procedure, communication with the yard, personnel with the crew members prior to movement, procedure performing inspection, locomotive consists, exterior from the ground, engine room, lead unit cab, trailing unit cab, initial movement, required conditions prior to starting the locomotive engine, starting the locomotive engine, post starting inspection, accelerating, running, stopping, braking, forming locomotive consists of the changing the operating ends, include lead of the trail, of the setup, the requirements, air brake application, leakage test, couple of locomotives for the car verification, couple air brake tests, over road operation, basic handling, factors affecting use of power braking, train track, consideration effective traffic braking, force, friction, rolling, resistance, wind resistance, rail adhesion, wheel show, resistance, track curvature, alignment, grade, type of location, locomotive consists, train length, speed, weight, and weight of the distribution, environmental consideration, moisture, snow, visibility restriction, time, distance consideration, required stopping distances, various grades, curves, and train lengths and weights, handling consideration which affect the development of lateral and vertical forces which may cause wheel lift, rail spread, roll over, possible derailment. Slack control with a promote slack development at its location within the train procedure for the control slack, bunching, stretch, consequence, ineffective slack and control, run and drawbar pull. Intermediate handling, grade curve, turbid territories, procedure for the negotiating stop of the restarting trains on level territory with curve, straight territory with light, less than 1.5%, heavy, more than 1.5% ascending grade, straight territory, light, heavy, descending grade, light, heavy, descending grade with the curves, crescent grades, undilating territory, sag or dip track territory, hump, knoll or hog back territory. Procedure for the controlling train such manner for the cycle braking where permitted, dynamic braking, couple the automatic brake throttle, modulation retainers where required. Precautions avoid wheel slip, wheel slide, traction motor, communicator, stall burns, flash over excessive drawbar forces. Effects of certain actions, grades, and curves, stopping with the crescent grade, speed changes with the near the beginning of the end of the curves, excessive the use of the throttle, brakes for the curve, dynamic braking or crossover the turnouts or heavy curves. Poor assistance, remote control, equipment available, the modes for the operation, associated advantage, precautions, proceed with the setting up and then checking out with the remote control, equipment configuration, proceed with the combined with the power of the braking operation, pusher and helper, equipment, situation require pusher, helper, and assistant procedure, precaution for the operating within of the pusher and helper, brake assistant procedure, setting up and then checking out the repeater relay system, procedure for the operating repeater relay system, special handling, procedures following loss of the dynamic brake, procedures after emergency brake application, procedure for the unintentional brake release, procedure for after braking 2, procedures after the derailment, procedure for the correct owner of the reporting operating difficulty for the engine malfunction, shutdown, except for the air pressure for the leakage, for the overcharged brake, for the broken pipe, brake pipe, the sticking brake, for the sanding malfunction, or failure traction motor malfunction, or failure overheated journal bearing, open ground relay, low oil water pressure, high coolant temperature, low main reservoir pressure, communications. Techniques providing clear, concise, oral, written communication procedure with the operating train radio and communication to and from the dispatcher, outside crew, caboose, procedure with the telephone communication, formers of train orders, requirements of completion of work, order, defective report, trip completion, requirements of the securing the engine running of the shutting down of the power, consist of the procedure for the completing and following of the operational maintenance report, effective job performance, factors affecting engineer performance, general fitness requirements, major source for the performance, decrements, attitude, distraction, fatigue, physical impairments, alcohol, drug injury, disease, sensory, motor impairment, injury, avoidance, type of location, potential have the injuries, electrical, thermal, chemical, acoustical, physical force, and being struck or falling. Precautions of the moving on or about tracks, getting in, on, off the locomotive is the car, inspecting and maintaining locomotive, operating handbrakes, using tools, appliance, working near rotating equipment, working near high voltage equipment, Railroad terminology required for reliable communication. Standard railroad terms, local railroad terms. Alright, table 4.2, minimum performance requirement topics, train preparation, registration, register on duty, pre-plan mission preparation, paperwork, verify timepiece, report, receive, consist, perform locomotive inspection, walk around inspection, lead unit cab inspection, trailing unit cab inspection, engine room inspection, starting an initial movement, starting with the engine starting sequence, lube, oil, cooling level, check, push, start, inspection, engine room inspection, lead cab inspection, preparation, initial movement of the locomotive, place the unit online, preparation, initial movement, forming a consist, couple the locomotive to the cars, verify the coupling, pump the air and brake pipe, leak test. Obtain departure clearance starting with the train, initial control, position, release, air brake, start movement, observation, load current, train velocity, determine the slow speed, confirmation with the caboose, movement, operation auxiliary equipment, under special ass situations, descending grade, under special situations, descending grade, sever the move, the train through the yard and designated main track over the road, operation, basic handling task, accelerating, decelerating, automatic braking, independent braking, braking with power, dynamic braking, backing up, brake control from the locomotive, brake control from the rear end of the car, standing, intermediate handling, slack task, speed and slack control, throttle brake so they avoid the wheel slip and the wheel slide, control slack within train, avoid excessive bluff action, coupler with the draft gear, strain, knowledge of the train, give the territory, automatic brake wing, dynamic brake mode, power area, application, maintain schedule, response to signal aspect, undilating territory operation, approaching, crossing, entering, leaving, siding, pick up, set off, curves, negotiating, turnouts of crossover the passing equipment adjacent to the tracks, passing train adjacent to the tracks, receiving wayside pass message, power assistance. For operational involved with the remote control equipment, perform the following activities: set up with a check for the configuration prior to use, employ with the brake power functions, switch between independent unit and multiple unit, operate with a pusher with a helper unit, operate as a pusher with a helper unit, maintenance requirement, special handling operation difficulties, respond with the obstruction of the track with a torpedo fuse, respond with a temporary restriction, slow board, respond improper signals, respond with a degraded dynamic braking, respond to degraded traction motor operation, respond to diesel engine defects, respond to no throttle response, respond to engine shutdown, respond to loss of sand, respond to battery charge, respond to alarm bell, respond to locomotive overspeed, respond to brake warning, respond to wheel slip, respond to open P in the pneumatic control system, respond to automatic train control, respond to safety control device, respond to emergency car braking, correcting rail derail condition, replacing broken knuckles, setting up the damaged cars, responding to known locomotive defects, responding to natural hazards, responding to hot journal bearings, respond to low oil water pressure, respond to high cooling temperature, respond to low main reservoir pressure, respond to no power, respond to high voltage ground, respond to excitation limit. Communication employed with the train radio, communication from the locomotive, the dispatcher locomotive with the caboose outside of the crew. Execute work order, defective report, yard and train operations, operate control locomotive with or without cars in various types of yards, operation include but not limited to the following: hump receiving yards, classification yards, flight general switching yards, repair and storage yards, passenger train yards, industrial yards, livestock yards, transfer interchange yards. 2. Startup cuts for the car with either bunch or stretch, hump or shove car and hump yards operation according with a single indication, including instruction of the railroad controlling the speed of the hump operations as required. Kick and drop cars into flat switch operation. Pick up and set out spot cars, industrial shop and repair tracks. Couple and double cuts over the cars, various tracks, and to make up the road trains. Switch passenger cars with or without passengers. Handle work trains, worker equipment identified, understand, comply with a hand signal given both day and nighttime, such as normal emergency stop, back up and back away, and go ahead and proceed. Kick cars slow and fast, drop kicks, cut off, apply air brakes, release air brakes, track number clearance, easy, slow, clear car length signs, identify the distance between the cars, identify, understand, comply with the other signals such as hump yard, interlocking plank, centralized train control, automatic block, manual block, handle, placards, other cars, hazardous materials such as explosive, poison, liquefied gases, molten metal safely, according with all regulations, including federal regulations, execute for the work report, effect of the report when applicable, trip completion. Moving the train from the main track yard through the yard designated track. Stop the train at the appropriate designation. Secure the locomotive consist of the shut down of the consist, if appropriate. File any required operational maintenance reports with the proper authority. Zero equipment for the task. Operation air horn, train bell, radio, telephone. Use of windshield wipers and/or defogger. Use of locomotive cab here, light controls, attendant call button, fire extinguisher, remote RMU equipment and retainers. Chapter 5, Analysis of the Design of the Locomotive and Engineering Trainman Programs. Cut the tape there.